To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
He wants to impose a national sales tax. That will devastate Americans.
If you've been dropshipping or white labeling products from abroad into the US, trade policies from either Trump or Harris will likely impact your business going forward. On September 13, the Biden-Harris administration introduced a new law aimed at regulating imports, making it more expensive and challenging to bring goods into the US. As a result, one of the most accessible business models that helped people from all backgrounds achieve financial freedom in the past 10 or so years, AliExpress dropshipping, has come to an end. Under the new rules, prices for imported goods are expected to rise. Imports will only be allowed if they meet specific regulations and include safety documentation. Additionally, importers will need now to provide either a social security number or a company identification number, making them accountable if the products are later found to be unsafe. Even if they are harsh, these rules seem kind of fair to me. You cannot just find a product on AliExpress that you've never seen, have it shipped by China Post to an unsuspecting customer, and pocket the markup without any responsibility. I've seen countless stories of fires caused by unsafe electronics, cats killed by self-cleaning litter boxes, or children hospitalized after playing with unsafe toys. Someone needs to be held accountable for the products entering the country. I believe that the safety checks are a positive step toward better quality products and will discourage many ruthless sellers, many of them not even based inside the US, who are only in it for the money. With these new safety measures, reshaping dropshipping and e-commerce, both Trump and Harris share a common goal of raising import tariffs, and as you may expect, their approaches are different. But before I get to the policy differences, let's see how things work right now. Imagine you set up a store to sell some trendy headphones you found in China. Import taxes vary by product type, but for electronics you might pay around 6% in custom duties. However, since you plan to dropship these items individually, you can take advantage of the minimis rule, which states that if a package is valued at $800 or less, no import taxes are required. That sounds awesome, right? Wrong. This loophole has allowed companies like Temu and Shein to flood the US market with low quality products. By sending millions of packages daily and keep each under the $800 threshold, they exploit the de minimis rule to avoid paying import taxes. Even if Temu states that they are sending your order in different boxes so that you can get it faster, the real reason behind it is that they actually don't want to pay custom duties. These practices have contributed to a significant trade deficit between China and the US, meaning that the US purchases far more from China than it sells to them. And the difference has caught the eye of politicians, of course. So now let's get to the policies that Trump and Harris are planning to impose and their potential effects on commerce and consumers. We don't yet know if the minimis rule will be completely removed or just reduced. For now, the Biden-Harris initiative indicates that the $800 threshold will drop and certain types of products like textiles will no longer be eligible for the exemption. Let's start with the tariff that Trump is proposing. He wants to impose a 10% import tax and even suggested a 20% as a baseline for any imports regardless of the country, along with a 60% import tax on goods coming from China. That is quite extreme if you ask me. While the practices of companies like Temu can be exploitive, China produces more than just low-quality goods. Many essential everyday products, as Kamala Harris said, will also face that 60% increase. The argument about job creation in the US is not necessarily valid, as many products either can't be produced domestically or would take a long time to reach the level of quality that Chinese manufacturers currently achieved. You've likely noticed that nearly all our electronics are made in China. While the US could eventually reach China's current production capacity, all that production would come with significant pollution, which the US might not be eager to handle. If you're a wine lover, you likely know that French and Spanish wines are highly valued for their quality. So if a 20% tax were added to these imports, placing them on the shelf next to Californian wines, for example, with higher price tags, would likely prompt domestic producers to raise their prices as well, otherwise they might get perceived as lower quality. This actually happened during the last Trump's presidency when tariffs were imposed on washing machines from China. Not only the US produced washing machines went up in price, but dryers did too, even though Chinese dryers weren't subjected to new tariffs. And that's not the only reason prices will rise. If, for example, Spain faces 20% import tax, they will likely respond by increasing their own tariffs for the US. As a result, companies that produce goods and sell them to Spain will also face higher taxes. Economists estimate that Trump-imposed tariffs will cost the average US family an extra $1,700 on goods that have increased prices. Kamala Harris stated that this could even go as high as $4,000 a year. So let's say you want to open an online store under the Trump administration. If you source directly from China, you'll pay 60% import tax. From other countries, it's 20%. If you manage to find a local producer, you won't pay import taxes, but prices might still be higher since they likely import parts from abroad. So Kamala might be right. This could end up being a sales tax on the American people. Of course, I'm no economist and I don't have the full picture of the US economy, but to me these measures seem extreme and lack diplomacy. And since it's Trump, he might just be speculating, he might not even impose any tariffs in the end, but it could become reality. So what do you think about this scenario? Okay, let's see the counterpart. What does the Team Harris propose? As you may expect, Kamala is more of a diplomat and her measures are focused on certain problematic areas. The minimis rule is now being exploited heavily by companies in China and some regulation was due. They plan to exclude certain product types from being eligible for the minimis exemption. This means that if you import products under the Section 201, solar panels and washing machines, 301 textiles and electronics, which account for about 40% of the US imports, and 232 steel and aluminium, none of these items will qualify for the minimis exemption anymore. For example, you would pay 6% import taxes for headphones, and the tax rate varies for each product category. Under Harris, if you want to start a new online store, you could theoretically still dropship from China without paying taxes if the items qualify for the minimis exemption. If they don't qualify for this exemption, you'll pay an import tax based on the type of product you're importing. For example, electronics can range from 0 to 25% in import taxes. And this is just China. No other changes were announced for imports from any other country. Some people say that Trump's policy is going to hurt in the short run, but it's going to bring all the manufacturing jobs back to the US. As glamorous as the Carnegie days were when America led global production, I don't think we're going back to that era. After all, there were specific reasons manufacturing was outsourced, such as pollution concerns, labor costs, and even willingness of people to do some of these jobs. As an e-commerce entrepreneur, I see Trump's policy as a step backward. While Harris seems to take a more fine-tuned approach to steer the economy gradually, and I'm more comfortable with a gradual approach. What do you think? If you want to see a more detailed video about the Biden-Harris law that ended dropshipping, you can watch it right here.